This is the perfect RIA, in case you didn't know. Bringing you all the strategies to help your business grow. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Sit back and listen in while you feel the beat, yeah! Another myth bites the dust.
Hello, TPR Nation. This is Amber Kuhn from The Perfect RIA. Thank you for joining me on today's Follow-Up Friday, where I'll be covering the highlights and action items from this week's episodes. On Monday, Matt and Micah kicked off the episode by talking about how much they love dispelling myths. Matt shared how there were so many myths that he believed when he was starting out, such as having a fancy brochure. But he said that if you jump into something without understanding it, it's just not going to work, which the guy said can happen with Surge. They shared how Surge is a phenomenal way to add massive value to you and your clients, but it's easy to want to bite off more than you can chew. You may want to jump right in and match Matt and Micah's schedule, but you need to hit the brakes. It doesn't make sense to go from no Surge meetings to a huge Surge cycle. The guy said that you need some training first. This is similar to anything you might try, whether that's skiing and then going to try to do a double diamond or running. You wouldn't jump into running a marathon the day after you hear about somebody doing it. Matt and Micah talked about how some advisors want to jump in and go straight to 30 to 40 meetings, and they don't have a system in place, and then they burn out and they blame Surge when the fault was their own. They said this isn't a competition to see who can do more meetings than Micah. You have to intentionally solve for what delivers the most value to you and your clients. So Surge doesn't mean a certain number of meetings a week. It means being intentional about when you're scheduling clients and understanding that time blocking is more effective. Another myth the guys shared is that Surge only works if you have very cookie cutter types of clients, and that Surge means that you're herding your clients, as in herding sheep. Instead, what they're doing is steering clients towards primary Surge times. Then if that doesn't work, then they're steering them towards their mini Surges. The difference with doing that is that most advisors will make any day or time work. And those advisors who don't feel confident enough in the value they're providing will try to hide that with ease of scheduling or access to them. They also shared how they have to do things in a certain way in order to streamline. They said as you start to scale, you need to have more efficient processes in place, and Surge is one of those things. So what's a great way to get started if you're not doing Surge yet? Micah said a great place to start is to look at when you're not doing meetings. For example, not doing meetings on Fridays. So think about what are those times that you don't want to meet with clients. Matt said another step would be to have set calendar times in Calendly or Acuity. He said it makes things easier for your team to know what's available. The guys also said you have to be careful with this trap of making things more complicated than they need to be. They said there's this illusion that complexity equals value. There's a need for some customization, but for most clients, things are the same. Matt said there's this myth that Surge dates are fixed every single year, but he said they're flexible up until the time a client is scheduled. He said it's okay for you to pivot your Surge or add to your Surge or change the theme. It's about how do you streamline 80 to 90% of this. Matt and Micah also said you have to think about how you've set expectations with your clients when you choose to move to Surge. And you have to position it so that it's the best interest of your clients, because it is in the best interest of your clients. The guys wrapped up by talking about the length of meetings as well as preparing for them. They hear from advisors who say that they can't do Surge because their meetings are so long. Matt and Micah said this could still work in Surge, but that there's almost no scenario where a meeting should go longer than an hour. They said in those longer meetings, there isn't more information being covered, and you can see the clients disconnect in the meeting. So you're spending your time thinking that more time equals more value. Also, they said if you have an hour and a complicated client, then you need to make sure that you are fully prepared and precise because you only have a certain amount of time to make sure that you're communicating well. Let's get into action items. The biggest thing is to consider where do you want your business to be? So look at who is running a business like that and how do you move up to the next level. Matt and Micah are currently working on some new masterclasses, so reach out to us at lifestyletheperfectra.com if you have any requests. And in order to be successful in Surge, it comes with a successful process. Make this a one-page document for Surge. You can make it 4 or 5 steps and then have your team empowered to do this. On Wednesday's episode, Matt was joined by Dave Zoller from Streamline Financial Planning. Dave has had tremendous results from social media and shared with Matt what's worked for him and also provided some tips for advisors who are working on social media and content marketing. Dave said a lot of stuff you do at first is a test. He said when you get going, you might do a little bit of playing and then find something that works. What worked for him was the education piece. They decided to set aside 1 hour of their time a week to dedicate to social media, focusing on education. From there, they found the things that people started to like. He said if you're not tied to the outcome in the beginning and you just try to help people, that's a great place to start. Dave said that as you go about your week, you can think about the number of questions that you get. From there, take those questions and put it in a framework. Think about the problem, the pain, and then the solution. Dave said he noticed that once he started doing some videos, he was hearing from people say that they felt they already knew him. So if you're consistent and you continue to help the same person over and over, then they're going to realize how much you've helped them before they've even met you. From there, they can imagine how much you could help just by them working with you. Another thing Dave would do would be reading other financial advisors' content and thinking if he could take that and create an overall idea and put an interesting spin on it. He said you never want to copy the words people are saying, but write down what they're saying and see what it makes you think about. Dave said that most of the work with social media is actually done outside of the platforms. So he recommends that you start by writing down questions and answers. And as you keep practicing that, then he said your creative muscle just gets stronger and stronger. He said start small, but commit. He said commit to being a person who can think and who can communicate effectively. He said that'll actually end up helping you communicate better with your current clients. Dave said that all work works, but if you commit to being intentional and following the system and process, that it's about making you a more consistent person. Dave said that if something is of no interest to you and it doesn't sound fun, then don't do it. But he said if it is of interest to you and you think you have something to share, then content marketing can be so powerful. Let's go over action items from Wednesday's episode. Visit streamlinemypractice.com where you can sign up to get access to Dave's content marketing process. Write down the questions people are asking you, then write short posts and answer those questions. He said the roadblocks that could stop advisors are being judged or because of the time component. So just set aside an hour a week to do this. And then put in the reps and try this for 3 months. On Thursday's episode, Jamie talked about what it really takes to prepare for presentations. She said it's easy to think that you don't actually have to prepare for meetings until you're in the moment and you realize all the things you didn't think about or the things that throw you off from what you're doing, and you haven't prepared for those things to happen. Jamie shared how Shalansky and Associates decided to put on an in-person event for a full-day class on federal benefits, and how they decided to bring in other advisors who don't normally speak at these events. One of the advisors is doing a portion of the seminar, which is what he has to master, but he also has to know the entire seminar content because what if the main presenters can't present? Jamie said you need to think about what is the backup plan to make sure that you are 100% ready, not because of what might happen, but because there's a high probability that something will go wrong. One of the steps in the preparation for this event was to do a run-through with the advisor to present to the entire team in person. Jamie met with the team to go through what he was going to be presenting, then had them come up with some questions. She also went over the rules of engagement, which were to be respectful and to not criticize the advisor. On the day of the rehearsal, they set up the office as if it was a live event, including how registration would work. Some things were quickly noted as areas where the advisor hadn't planned, such as realizing that they didn't know how to use a PowerPoint clicker, they didn't have an opening, they didn't think about how they were going to transition to the next presenter. Once the advisor started with a presentation, a few things started to happen. He didn't realize the team was going to ask questions, and someone received a phone call that they answered in the middle of the presentation. Jamie had also asked someone to sit next to the computer and close it so that he could no longer see the presentation. So there were a few lessons that Jamie shared the advisor took from this, such as you need to ensure that you never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to. Don't challenge the audience members. Another lesson learned was the advisor wasn't prepared for the side talk. She said when you go into a group with the people who are comfortable with each other, your job becomes twice as hard because you're out of the loop and you can easily lose the audience. If, as a presenter, you don't know the answer to something, and you aren't 100% confident in the answer, don't answer it. You don't always have to answer immediately, but she said one wrong answer can jeopardize your accountability and your credibility with your audience. The advisor also realized that there were things that were missing, and as a presenter, Jamie said you need to make sure that you have all the tools in your toolbox to do the job. From that rehearsal, the advisor now knows things that he wasn't prepared for before. Jamie said it's important to constantly work that muscle and be ready for things that can throw you for a loop. That way on game day, you go in not expecting perfect conditions, but you're prepared for it because you put the reps in. Jamie also said be careful who you take your feedback from. She said if you're a young financial advisor and you're looking for ways to level up, listen to the criticism and feedback and always look for ways to improve. Let's get into action items. Read the book, Sustain Your Game. Also, are you presenting in public? What's your prospecting plan? And how are you getting the information you provide in front of prospect? You need to develop a plan for this. And what is your perfect practice scenario? And how many times are you going to put in the reps? Before I wrap up, I want to mention Jamie talked about this on her episode, that if there's something that we say or do that resonates with you, or if there's something that you like or don't like, or if there's something that you want more of, reach out to us on social media or email us at lifestyle@theperfectra.com. We also had our Nation Power Session this past Wednesday, May 17th, on the perfect prospect process. Our membership enrollment is now open, so if you're interested, visit theperfectra.com to get signed up. That wraps up this week's recap. Thank you for joining me on today's Follow-Up Friday. Be sure to give us 5 stars wherever you're enjoying this podcast and share this or any of our episodes with another advisor or team member who you think might benefit from listening. And until next time, happy planning.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife. The perfect RIA, the perfect